Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Despite another challenging year dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, Indiana saw more than its fair share of economic success. That was one takeaway from Governor Eric Holcomb's State of the State address, which focused on the state's economic performance, from low unemployment to a growing budget surplus to record investment and job commitment numbers. Did the speech hit the mark? And what about the governor's vision for the future? For more on that, I'm pleased to be joined by Ball State University Director of the Center for Business and Economic Research, Mike Hicks, who's going to break it all down. Mike, as always, great to see you.
Good to be with you, Gary.
Overall, takeaways from your standpoint from the speech?
Yeah, I mean, I think the governor deserves high marks for the tone of the speech. Certainly good to focus on the good news we've had after this really tough year: low unemployment, good GDP growth, good recovery overall, and a great budget environment for the state's legislature as they meet this year and thinking about how to craft the rest of the year's budget and just for the next cycle. So.
Yeah, one of the takeaways or the things that stood out to me, the economic development numbers. Now, these are forward-looking, are job commitments. They haven't happened yet, but record numbers in terms of investment in job commitments during another pandemic year.
Right, you really have to hand it to the folks at IEDC. 2 years that have been easily the toughest in Indiana history to attract new jobs and business, and they're rolling out record numbers. At the same time, they're doing a lot of other things, Ready Grant and other stuff that, fantastic work by that team.
One of the things, too, he talked about income growth. I know you took issue with maybe some of the numbers that were used on the income growth side of the equation.
Right. So the governor's right. We've done well since 2015 in GDP growth. That masks some really sluggishness. We're underperforming the nation as a whole. And he misspoke on the jobs numbers. We're really down about 68,000 jobs from the beginning of the pandemic. But, the fact is our recovery looks like the nation's as a whole. And when Indiana's growing as fast as the country as a whole, that's good news overall.
One of the other things that stood out to me, population growth, because we hear so much about the need to grow the population, been losing population. Here's what the governor had to say about Indiana and population growth.
Since 2010, our population has increased by 300,000 people, far eclipsing the rate of any neighboring state. In fact, the U.S. Census just put out that from July of 2020 to July of 2021, Indiana saw more people move to our state than any of the 11 other states that make up the entire Midwest region.
Mike, in your view, is that evidence that perhaps some of these efforts to grow, to keep talent, attract talent, they're working?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the focus on quality of place, quality of life, while incomplete, is making a difference here. It's important to know that the bulk of that growth has occurred in the Indianapolis metropolitan area, almost 100% of it. But the fact that Indiana is growing when Illinois, Michigan, Ohio are not is really an important benefit, long-term benefit for the state.
Yeah, I know a big focus area, the Ready grants, $500 million that leveraged a lot more private investment. But these Ready grants that were handed out at the end of the year around the state of Indiana, I know you feel those are really positive influences on that whole equation.
Right. I mean, this was a really big policy year that we just passed out of. The Ready grants are important because they provide really 5 or 6 regions with almost as much money as the regional cities grant to sort of stimulate the construction and infrastructure investment in quality place. Again, there's still a lot of gaps, particularly in education, but this is how you use this money to make a long-term difference in much of the state.
The governor touched on developments, initiatives in other parts of the state. A big project, a couple big projects actually in Northwest Indiana he talked about as well.
The South Shore double track and the Westlake corridor are completed. They won't just reduce travel times, they will. But they'll fuel an explosion of new investment and opportunity in Northwest Indiana, the likes we haven't seen in decades.
The South Shore, those projects, Mike, been talked about for decades. That Northwest Indiana economy, such a big economic engine. How important are those projects to that region?
Right. We're essentially a large urban area, really from from South Bend west to Chicago, and with a lot of available developable land there for people. It's a great place to live if you can get to those labor markets. And so what this does is changes dramatically the opportunity for primarily residential development. In my judgment, we could see just really significant growth. And I don't think the governor is exaggerating when he says this is going to be tremendous. It's going to take a long time to develop, but this is how you make that part of Indiana ready for the 21st century.
Yep. Mike Hicks, as always, great perspective. Really great to see you to kick off 2022, and hope to see you soon.
Good to see you.
All right.